بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم وبعد. Proceed, inshallah, once again with this stream of the Fiqh al-Nawazil session, an academic course on Fiqh and Nawazil studying contemporary issues. Today's session is discussion number 9 from the topics of modern day Nawazil. مسألة بطاقات الائتمان غير المغطى. Topic: standard credit cards. So this is the 9th class. The handout sheet has been given out. And we're going to read what some of the majami al-fiqhiyya, the fiqh councils, have stated regarding this topic. Before that, to understand the history of a credit card, its meaning, and its system, how it works. And then we're going to speak about its rulings. As they say, حُكْمْ عَلَى شَيْءٍ فَرْعٌ عَنْ تَصَوُّرِهِ. The ruling of something branches from understanding it. So, a credit card is a thin, rectangular piece of plastic or metal issued by a bank or a financial services company that allows card holders to borrow funds, which to pay for goods and services with merchants that accept cards for payment. Credit cards impose the condition that card holders pay back the borrowed money plus any applicable interest, as well as any additional agreed amount of charges, either in full, by the billing date, or over time. How does it work with the system? The credit card system involves 3 parties: the issuer, and the mustir, which is usually a bank or a finance company, for example, a credit card company, the merchant, and the card holder. However, in most cases, another party is also involved. That is the credit card intermediary companies or networks like Visa or MasterCard companies. The difference between a credit card issuer and a credit card network, which may sometimes be the same institution, is that a credit card issuer are the financial institutions, so like the bank, for example, that issues the credit card to you. But there is a greater party at times, which is Visa or MasterCard companies. So there's a number of parties that are involved: the merchant, the issuer, and the network companies that are involved, and the client himself, the card holder. So the difference between a credit card issuer and a credit card network, which may sometimes be the same financial institution, is that credit card issuers are the financial companies which issue credit cards to consumers, offer them credit, service their accounts, provide their cards rewards and privileges, and are responsible for card security. So what the credit card networks do is to make these cards acceptable in the market and determine how they can be used and facilitate the payment process between the credit card issuers, merchants, and credit card holders. So the credit card has become almost something unavoidable in terms of payment of today, especially in the West and many Muslim countries. It has become a standard payment for many markets, especially for renting a car or hotels and so on and so forth. So we know ammat bihi al-balwa, it's something that is people are greatly trialed with, but we want to speak about the ruling now. Concerning Islamic ruling, some contemporary jurists and modern-day fiqh councils have issued a number of verdicts regarding it. So we'll start off with the first committee, which is the Lajnatul Da'ima, the Permanent Committee for Islamic Research and Issuing Fatwa in Saudi Arabia, the Lajnatul Da'ima. They issued the following fatwa. Credit cards are a new production from the works of the people of riba. And it's with no shadow of doubt, hiya minhum wa ilayhim. Credit cards started from them, and it actually stands for them and what they have of motives and objectives. The history of it is that it was first introduced in 1950s, where there was a person in history that was known as a businessman who forgot his wallet at a dinner place in New York. And there then they made a diners club card as a way to pay without carrying cash. And this is how it first started. It became like wealth that was guaranteed without there being any deposit. This is the first mark of a credit card in history, they say. As for what we're going to see, topic of Islamic, so-called Islamic credit cards, the first where it emerged is in the year 2001, when Malaysia introduced first Islamic credit card in that country, and Bahrain introduced Islamic credit cards in 2002. But we're speaking about the conventional one. The conventional credit cards are production from the works of the people of riba. This is what Lajnatul Da'ima says. And it's from the way of eating the wealth of the people with no rights, causing them to fall into sin and corrupting their transactions and earnings. This is similar to the riba of Jahiliyyah, pre-Islamic ignorance, to pay on time or pay interest later. إِمَّا أَن تَقْضِي وَإِمَّا أَن تُرُدْبِي. And this is the principle of pre-Islamic ignorance, which is haram in this purified religion. So because of this, it is not permissible to produce these cards, nor have transactions by them. وَبِاللَّهِ tawfiq, and success is from Allah. End of quotes. So we gave the fatwa number. The next fatwa committee is Darul Iftah, the Mamlakatul Urdaniya, which is issuing all of the different committees, and we'll take one by one and then give us summary. They issued the following statement. Credit card is a modern-day means of payment used by people to avoid carrying cash during travel. And this is how it initially started, for convenience. Credit cards are of two types, مغطى وغير مغطى. One that's covered and one is not covered, meaning one is, it's secured with payment, and one is unsecured of payment. So in other words, one is standard credit card and one is prepaid credit card. A prepaid credit card is like a debit card, but a standard credit card, غير مغطى, it is the one that's called unsecured credit card, meaning the payment that was made, it hasn't totally been secured because of your not having wealth of yours to cover that amount, of yet to confirm. And the ruling of Shariah on each varies according to their nature. The relationship between the issuer and the client covered type is one which the former is authorized to pay off on behalf of the latter. Therefore, it is permissible for the issuer to receive a fee against the card. We're going to speak, it's going to come, what is the ruling of the rusum al-idariya, these administrative fees, or these charges that they have of membership fees, or monthly subscriptions fees for the credit card. What are the rulings of that? That is going to come, inshallah. Then they go on to say, on the other hand, the relationship between the issuer of the second type and the client is one of a guarantee and a loan. So it's ضمان مع قرض. Therefore, it is forbidden for the issuer to charge a fee against this card. However, this excludes the actual cost of the card's issuance. The reason is that charging a fee against a guarantee is forbidden by consensus of the four legal schools. In addition, it's forbidden to use this card if it includes a usurious condition which stipulates that the holder, the client, should pay a certain sum in case he failed to pay off the due debt. Moving on to another council. As we said, we're going to read what everyone has to say of the different fiqh councils, of what has been studied. Then we will summarize with the rajih that the scholars have put forward. The next one is Darul Ifta al-Misriya. They issued the following statement. It is permissible to use cards provided one pays before subjecting himself to the interest due on late payment. End of quote. طيب. So they say it's permissible to use these credit cards provided the person pays before the interest accumulates on him due to a late payment. The fourth council is Hay'atu al-Muhasaba, and they have a number of ulama, mashayikh in their fiqh council, the accounting and audit organization for Islamic financial institution, and they go to what the abbreviation as AAOIFI. They stated the following. It is prohibited to issue credit cards as mentioned in the standard, where such issuance is based on a contract granting the cardholder the right to revolving a credit on terms that involve interest, because riba is prohibited in terms of either taking or giving. طيب. So, what is put forward of these credit cards? Most of the times it revolves on terms that involve interest. So they mentioned it is prohibited whether it entails taking or giving. The prohibition of riba is established through Quranic texts, direct and certain hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ, and the consensus of Muslim scholars, rendering its prohibition well known in the Muslim community as self-evident. However, the issuance of credit cards free from riba or from any other legal prohibition is permissible. So there's not saying that credit card in itself is haram. They're saying what it may involve of certain interests, conditions, that in is what is haram. So we'll get them, let's make clear. Just having something on credit or having wealth issued to you in a card as credit, that is not haram that we're not referring to. They're discussing about the usurious condition that is based on. End of quote. The source, Shariah Standards. It's a massive book in English and also in Arabic. I advise the brothers to get a copy of this book. This book, they studied so many modern day issues pertaining to Islamic banking and some of the transactions in the conventional market. And they give conditions for each transaction. And it has a number of scholars, and from the scholars that approved their work, I believe, was Sheikh Salih al-Haydan. The next council, the Assembly of Muslim Jurists of America, known as the abbreviation AMJA, they stated the following. On the Sharia view about the issue of owning and using credit cards, here's the decision taken by the Fiqh Assembly under resolution number 94. They state it is likely that it is permissible to owning and using credit cards and purchasing commodities on condition that users should abide by paying the value of their purchases within the no interest period. يعني في مدة السماح, they call it, which is usually about 25 or 30 days. However, it is not permissible to use credit cards and drawing cash in advance because it will surely have interest charges. They call it a cash advance fee sometimes. Or when you withdraw cash from a credit card, or even transfer money from a credit card to a regular checkings account or savings account, they have something called cash advance fee. So what is the ruling on that? Some scholars who permit credit cards with certain guidelines, when it comes to withdrawing, they say it's not allowed to withdraw from it, or to transfer from that account of the credit account to your checking or to your savings, because it comes with a cash advance fee. So this is what some scholars say, but we'll mention further inshallah. So he says it will surely have interest charges, since the users should pay interest charges and will not be given any time period to pay interest free. So it's prohibited to do that. Allah knows best. So, whether with cash advance fee, the moment you withdraw cash with a credit card from the ATM machine, there's that fee that is different, like the fee that you're given a certain amount of days to pay back. And if you pay back within that time period of muddatus samah, they call it, 25 to 30 days or 18 days, 15 days, and they give you a minimum payment amount. But this one, they say, is different. So that's why this assembly of jurists are saying that is not permissible. So I will continue reading, and then we will go to the conclusion. The last fiqh council that we're going to quote in this handout sheet is Al-Majma' Al-Fiqhi Al-Dawli. People pronounce it as a Duwali, but it's a Dawli. The International Islamic Fiqh Academy, they stated the following. The Council of the International Islamic Fiqh Academy of the Organization of the Islamic Conference, holding its 12th session in Riyadh, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Currently, the president of this fiqh council is Sheikh Salih bin Humaid, Hafidhullah, and also at his side is Sheikh Abdullah bin Mani', and other great scholars that were part of it. Sheikh Salih al-Wahidan, before he passed away, he was part of this fiqh council. طيب, based on the Academy Resolution number 63 concerning financial markets, which resolved to postpone adopting, and bear in mind, this qarar that they have adopted, was after a number of majalis, of them sitting and studying amongst themselves. They would have like an open debate, and they would share their opinions as a discussion, and most of the times there'll be the ruling by majority or the greatest of them in rank. So wasfan wa adadan, they will look at the greatest in them in terms of status and knowledge, and also in their numbers, then they will conclude. So with the previous ones, they had a brief conclusion or a resolution. This is their final, and this is what they had of this Majma' al-Fiqhi. So they mentioned the credit card is a document given by its issuer to a natural or legal person on the basis of a contract between them, enabling the second party to buy goods or services from a vendor who approves the document without paying the price immediately, as the document includes the issuer's commitment to pay. Payment is made from the account of the issuer, who will afterwards charge the card holder at regular time intervals, and some issuers issue to impose usury interest on the total outstanding balance that the cardholder owes to them after due date of payment, while others do not. So what it concludes with, it resolves of it. Firstly, it is not permissible to issue credit cards not covered by the holder's cash balance, غير مغطى, or use them if their terms involve the imposition of usurious interest. So this fiqh council, they see it permissible, prepaid credit cards. That's not a discussion right now. Right now it's more about the standard credit cards. This is what they're studying. So they say credit cards is not covered by the holder's cash balance, or use them if their terms involve the imposition of usury interest. This is even if the cardholder intends to pay within that time period before the interest accumulates. The second qarar that they give, it is permissible to issue credit cards not covered by the holder's cash balance that do not have a condition to charge interest on the debts. Permissibility of this transaction entails two further considerations. The first consideration, the card issuer is permitted to charge from the cardholder a specific fee at the time of issuing or renewing the card. Such amount constitutes the actual fee that the issuer deserves according to the services it provides to the cardholder. So at the time of the renewal of your card or the time of issuing it, there may be a specific fee. This fiqh, so this majma' sees it permissible. They don't see it that this fee is muqabil al-qard. It's not corresponding the loan that they're giving, but it's corresponding the service that they're providing. And in that card that you have, that rectangle card, it has money to it. And these cards don't come an faragh. The convenience they're providing of you being able to do these services and go to one shop to another and make a payment with it, and they accept that payment. This is a service that they're taking a fee for. So there's a manfa'a that is ma'luma. There is a benefit that they can charge you for. This is not in return for the wealth that they're lending you. So that's the first one. B, the issuing bank is permitted to charge a commission on the trader's goods or services purchased by the cardholder, provided that such goods or services are sold at the same price, whether in cash or credit. But this is mainly that those who issue these credit cards, they take a small percentage from your purchases through the merchants, not through you. Every time you make a payment, those who accept credit cards, they make a payment to that issuing company or that bank or that financial institution. So that's their commission. Here it's permissible, they're saying. That's why sometimes they themselves will prefer cash. They will prefer cash, or they even know that some credit cards charge more than other ones. Or they have even like a different calculation on how they ask you to pay. The third qarar that they give, resolution, cash withdrawal is considered a loan from the card issuer and is therefore not objectionable under Shariah. And if it does not involve, so he says it's not objectionable under Shariah if it does not involve a usurious interest. The service charge for withdrawal is not considered usurious because it's not associated with the loan amount or its duration in exchange for this service. However, any other charge over the actual services is prohibited for being riba, which is prohibited by Shariah according to the Academy's 2 resolutions. Did I mention the numbers? So what they concluded with, and this is different from a lot of majami', is that the service charge for withdrawal with credit cards is not considered to be riba. Because why? It's not associated with the loan. And the amount or its duration exchange is not associated with the loan amount or its duration in exchange for this service. So they say it's not مقابل القرض ولكن هو مقابل الصرف. More of the process of using a credit card and processing through the system and doing the withdrawal. It's an extra process that they charge a fee for. So that cash advance fee, in their opinion, it's not riba. For those scholars that say it's not allowed to withdraw with your credit card from the machine because there's an extra fee more than your debit card, then this is disputed. This is disputed. The fourth qarar, credit cards are not covered by the holder's cash balance. Credit cards that are غير مغطى, are not covered by the holder's cash balance, are not permissible for the purchase of gold, silver, and currencies. But Sheikh Abdul Salam Shuwair, he mentioned at the Majma', they took this back. They took this fourth qarar, this resolution, that you can't purchase online, for example, gold and silver, or even directly with machine, gold and silver. They say that it's not allowed because there's some sort of delay. They said there's some sort of delay in this process, but they took this one back, inshallah. The final conclusion. I'm going to quickly try to take it so we can go. With these credit cards, there comes a number of discussions. Firstly, from the negatives of it, it entails some sort of deception. I mean, that the card contains a value from your earnings. Perhaps it's not even earnings. And a person is living on credit, he's mutashabbi' bima lam yu'ta. He's satisfied and content of what he isn't entitled to of wealth. And this is what a lot of the times it makes a person live beyond his living standards of his actual living standards. And even when you try to keep it within your own limitation, they increase your limits just to tempt you further. Increase your credit line, they say, oh, mashallah, you're making more money. And they give you more money, more than what you're earning. This is all to entice you to riba and to its traps. Number 3, it causes a lot of the people to be into bankruptcy. And the percentage I mentioned, people that are trialed and have digged themselves into debt, a lot of them is due to possessing a number of credit cards. He has a credit card for this one, a credit card for this one, and he gets overwhelmed, and all of a sudden he's driven into debt. طيب. Good one. Those kids, inshallah. طيب. Also, they say it leads to a lack of security. It's like unsafe, where it can easily be stolen and taken advantage of. Even the numbers of, sometimes they even use, some other people, when they want to purchase online, they use these one-time use credit cards, just so no one hacks their credit card or receive their numbers. So they use the one-time use with amount, and it wouldn't be their full amount. Because with the credit card, you're giving someone your details, your credit card details, and he can just charge you what you want with it. So you will have, some people, they even go follow up with the bank to leave only a certain amount in their credit card that could be withdrawn by that person. So you can't withdraw more. Also, they said these credit cards lead to economical issues, and it has done. طيب. with the ruling is what Sheikh Muhammad bin Salih al-Uthaymeen rahmatullahi alayhi, he mentioned, that if it's relating to how things are in the Western society, he said, إن كان الحرج متيقنا واحتمال التأخر عن التسديد ضعيف فأرجو أن لا يكون فيها بأس. And if a person is extremely burdened and overwhelmed, and if he doesn't use this credit card or doesn't have it, he'll be taken by haraj, difficulty, and you're certain about it, he says, you're mutayaqqin. Here he says, and there's just a possibility for you to fall late for the payment. That is a possibility that is extremely weak. And the chances of you missing the payment is very unlikely. And he says, فَأَرْجُوا أَنْ لَا يَكُونْ فِيهَا بَأْسٍ. I hope that in this type of scenario, there's no harm. Because he said, لِأَنَّ عِنْدَنَا أَمْرًا مُتَحَقِّقًا وَهُوَ الضَّرُورَةِ. He says, because we have an affair that is established. It's ضرورة, the dire need. وَعِنْدَنَا أَمْرٌ مَشْكُوكٌ فِيهِ وَهُوَ التَّأَخُّرُ. And we have an affair that we're doubtful about, which is being late. So he said, فَمَرَاعَاتُ الْمُتَيَقِّنْ أَوْلَى. MashaAllah. Beautiful verdict. He says, considering what you're certain about has precedence about over that you're doubtful about. طيب, also a fatwa, read here where fatwa we translated of Sheikh Sulaiman Ruhaili. He mentions that in a state of durura, someone is in dire need of a loan or to use these credit cards for a particular reason, like his work or for travel. For example, he's traveling and he can't make certain payments except with these credit cards or the likes of that. Then he says it's upon him to make the payments before the due date of where it comes in. This is in a state where he mentioned. Also here is a fatwa of Sheikh Yahya ibn Ali al-Hajuri, we translate as well, where he was asked, what's the ruling on dealing with banks and accepting credit cards because there does not exist another means except these credit cards in buying and selling? And some of the people are demanded by the government to accept these credit cards. The answer, in the name of Allah, may peace and blessings be upon the Messenger of Allah, his family, his companions, and those who follow his guidance. He says, whoever is afflicted with these dealings and the issue of credit cards and the issue of insurance and dealing with it along with the difficulty in that, then there's no harm in that. That's his answer. So he says, مَنْ ابْتُلِيَ يعني فَهُوَ فِي عَافِيَةٍ. And whoever is greatly trialed and he can't get around it, there then. But I would add something further here, what some of the Shaykh mentioned, where firstly, we know that credit cards are conventional credit cards on the basis of them being loans from financial institutions. They should be avoided unless the person is in a dire need to have them or is severely trialed to possess these cards and cannot find an alternative for them in sufficing his needs. However, in this case, the person should make the payments for the owing amount of the credit card on his due date before the interest accumulating or any late fees. And if he happens to pay late, he should request from his credit card issuer to reverse any late fees, since this option is available for clients that are keen to making their payments on time. And this is some of the brothers, they have attested to this, that if you have a good history of always paying on time, and then you happen one time, the company will do reverse. They'll reverse any interest for you. If you especially even tell them of your religion and you're keen to paying on time, and this is just an accident. So another affair regarding this is a fatwa of Sheikh Abdul al-Shuwair. He mentions that another scenario where it's permissible to have a credit card is if the bitaqa is marbuta bihisabik al-jari, with your checking account. If it's connected to your checking account, or you have pre-authorized payments before any interest could accumulate, and before the date, like for example, the time for pre-authorized payment is maybe like 2 days before the interest comes in. And also, he said another condition, it has to be a full payment of the loan. It can't be like minimum payment. It has to be miya bil miya, he says. And then he said also you have to have a monthly salary that is more of the loan that you're borrowing with that condition. He said there then it's permissible. So if a person has a pre-authorized, and even this can be tempting, you find a lot of people, some people, they can lock the credit card. You can lock it, on the app. You can lock it so when you try to use it, you won't be able to use it. The only way you can use it is if you unlock it. So you, for example, if you're in dire need, you unlock it, you use it for something, and then you take that same funds from your checking and put it back into the amount, and then you unlock it, lock it again. And some people resort to that. But even that is some doubtful. People, you do this just to attain a credit score. Because now you need a credit score to rent a house. You need a credit score for a lot of things. And sometimes it'll be extremely difficult without a credit card. We once asked in a telelink Sheikh Abdul al-Rajihi if he's allowed to get credit cards for the reason to obtain a credit score. So he excused himself and he says, ask Lajmatul Daima. Ask Lajmatul Daima. And he's, mashallah, major scholar. The Sharika, the Islamic institution, Manzil, they came out with a new credit card, Islamic credit card, called KOHO, KOHO. It's a MasterCard, but it is Islamic compliant. And the way how it works is like a prepaid. Yeah, it works like a debit card, debit visa. Like you put your money in it, or your salary goes into it, and when you use it, you can use it exactly like as a MasterCard. Anywhere that doesn't accept a debit card, but they accept a MasterCard, that would work there. So some people say this is an alternative. Also, you have the option to build your credit history with it. Not all prepaid credit cards, you can build your credit history. Only these ones that they say give the option. So they teamed up just to make it alternative for the Muslims. Also, they give the option for earning cash back. And the way they do it is that you pay like monthly $7, and then you get a cash back or something like that for every purchases you make. And we'll speak about the ruling of cashbacks, inshallah. So, when Islamic credit cards came out, many of them came out as a loan with subscription fees or membership fees, like Malaysia and Bahrain. A group of the scholars were against it. They say this is just another form of riba, tahayul. They call it as a form of schemery. It's interest, but under the name membership fee. They say this is halal credit card. How is the halal credit card? They say we're not charging you any interest. It's interest free. But we're charging you a subscription fee, membership fee for having that card. So this is what some of the scholars have said is more like a scheme. And some Islamic banks, this is how they operate. If you ever heard of an Islamic credit card, this is how mainly they operate. And they have some verdicts of some scholars that we mentioned that permitted subscription fees and membership fees. As they say, it's not muqabil, al-qard is not corresponding the loan. طيب, some conventional banks have started to accommodate Muslims, especially in the UK. The UK, mashallah, in some of their banks, they have even, what do you call it, an Islamic account. And they have a called Islamic account or Shariah compliant account. So in this account, their overdrafts are interest free. Any overdraft they have is interest free. Or it doesn't even have any management fees. They said this is special, and even the non-Muslims came out angry and saying this is a discrimination. You charge us management fees that you don't charge the Muslims. They got angry. There was an article on the news. طيب. Because these overdrafts, person should not resort to overdrafts, because the overdrafts have two options. One option where they tell you pay monthly, maybe like $5 a month, and you have the option to that anytime you go over the amount, your balance, or like you go below your balance, then the overdraft will be a protection, will cover. And you wouldn't have to pay any interest. Just that $5 a month. And then they have another option where you enable overdraft protection, but you pay only if you use it. You pay only if you use it. So a group of the mashayikh, they gave the verdict that overdraft, any fees regarding them, is riba, because they say this fees is the fact that they gave you wealth that is borrowed. That's borrowed. So that's what was mentioned. Nonetheless, a person shouldn't use this unless he's in a dire need, and a person is trialed greatly, and he should take the lesser of the options of the fees. Should take lesser of the options of the fees. And this is a trial, because either a person, even when he doesn't have when he has insufficient funds and wealth that goes below his amount, there's a fee that he's charged. And even if he has an overdraft, there's a fee he's charged. So sometimes a person, if he's trialed greatly with these affairs, he may have an excuse with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. طيب. Next affair is, what's the ruling on these cashbacks of the credit cards? I personally asked Sheikh Muhammad Hisham al-Tahiri. He mentioned that it's permissible. Also Sheikh Saad al-Shitri, he gave a verdict that these cashbacks are reality discounts. How's a discount? And the way the credit card companies work with the merchants is that they want to make an incentive to increase the purchases. So they said, okay, reduce a little bit from the purchase amount and give it back to that person, a percentage for every purchase. So it's like a discount. It's a discount. So that's permissible. So cashbacks are permissible. based upon the verdict of the scholars. طيب, another affair is, what's the ruling on eating food that was bought with a credit card? A lot of questions come and say a person calls you and says, my mother bought me food with a credit card that I know is of riba. What's the ruling of eating the food? So some of the mashayikh, they've issued a verdict. They mention al-akal min ta'amihim wa qabul hadiyatihim. Yani eating food that was purchased, for example, of a credit card, or a gift that was purchased through a credit card, or sitting in a house or living in a house that was bought of riba, la haraj fi dhalik, there's no harm in that. Because they say the qard al-ribawi, the usurious loan, muta'alliqun bidhimamihim, it's relating to their account of their responsibility. La bi'ayn al-mal, not with the wealth itself. It's not the wealth itself. It is this contract and this agreement, and he's the fact that he's katib al-riba, wa shahidai, from the people of it. So it is permissible. That's why we're allowed to take payments from people that come with a credit card, to make a payment with a credit card. And here I'll give you an example. Sheikh Abdul al-Barrak, we translate this on the website. He was asked, person says, I'm from Canada. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah bless you, O Fadilat al-Shaykh, and may Allah make you one that benefits others. He says, I work in an electronic store, and he says, customers come to buy and they have a credit card to purchase of what he knows that is a ribawi qard, a usurious loan that was used of that credit card. So he said, what's the ruling on this work of mine? So the Shaykh says, you do not busy yourself with this. The ruling of the visa follows them, not you. Take your entitlements or what they send you. The purpose which is apparent to me is that there's no blame on you for that. And the Shaykh says, no. So it is متعلق بذممهم لا بعين المال. It's not relating to that exact wealth, but it's relating to themselves and the responsibility of their contract and so forth. So it doesn't connect to you. There was last one more. Forgive us, brothers. It is. طيب, here a fatwa of Mufti Taqi Usmani, he's also a member of Majma' Fiqh al-Dawri. He said credit cards have become a necessity without which many transactions cannot be made. Therefore, it will be permissible to use them on the condition that the payments are made before the due date to avoid interest. As he mentions. And he said, with regard to the points received from credit cards, they will be considered as a gift. You may spend them on whatever you wish. And he says, Allah knows best. So in terms of it, the Fiqh Council is calling it impermissible. Yes, it's impermissible, but they give an exception for scenarios of people being greatly trialed. Even the Islamic Fiqh Academy of India issued a fatwa declaring that it's forbidden, but they give the exceptions. So I believe we'll stop with this, inshallah. And inshallah, this is clear. Person asks, what about his workplace? Ridwan. What about his workplace? Has like a company credit card, and it's part of his job to have this credit card. Then it's not relating to him, because the whole contract and everything, he's just receiving payments and making payments on their behalf. So this is different. This is permissible. But as for the contract, we said not permissible except for a person, as the Fattah of Sheikh Muhammad Salih Uthman, where he is in haraj mutayaqqin, and the chances of him not meeting the deadline of paying it on time is very low. There then is permissible, as the Shaykh has mentioned. We end with this: Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. And with the remaining time, we'll quickly go into كتاب الفوائد ابن القيم. كم بقي من الوقت؟ ما شاء الله.